This year, stop making vision boards. I raised $1 million at 23, was Forbes 30 under 30 at 25, and I'm telling you 90% of vision boards fail. Most of the goals that you're setting for yourself might not even truly be yours. You're most likely repurposing and repackaging somebody else's dream. Hence, vision boards can be a bit like false advertising for your own brain, because a lot of the time we're focusing on putting what looks good on it instead of what feels good to us. It's like buying a new diary each time and thinking this will finally change my life. Now, not to be a pessimist, the new year does offer an opportunity for a clean sheet, a reset, but let's not pretend that new year, new me isn't just a lie we tell ourselves and the rest of the world. But I am here to gently tell you that you don't have to get overwhelmed by all of these resolutions and prophecies and things and dreams that you have to make come true all in the span of 1 year. There is a simpler way to achieve all of your dreams, and I'm going to tell you how. This video is broken into 4 phases. The first one is stewardship, followed by study, then strategy, and finally surrender. And don't worry, it doesn't matter whether you're seeing this video before the New Year's or afterwards. The exercises here remain timeless. By the end of this video, you will have a system that honors what you already have, clears whatever's holding you back, and also makes space for whatever's meant for you and what's meant to come. And yes, there's trackers and templates I've made throughout this, which you can download for free. But before we dive in, tell me in the comments, did you make a vision board last year and how did that work out for you? Be honest. Alright, let's start with stewardship. So now how most of us approach creating our vision board is starting with, what do I want? What do I not have? What do I need more of? What can I drastically change about my life this year that's going to look like a complete level up? Now, there's nothing wrong with that per se, except that this entire mindset stems from a place of lack. We're already starting the year by focusing on what's not there instead of focusing on what we already have. So, this year, we will do a stewardship audit and I'm going to teach you how to do it. For a lot of these exercises, what you're going to need is perhaps your notes app or an actual pen and paper. Now, the stewardship audit is basically asking the universe, spirit, God, whatever you like, about what it has already granted you and given you that you're not already honoring in your life. For instance, you have a body that works, but what you've been doing for the past year is eating junk food, maybe not moving it as much. Or let's say you have a lot of people who love you, but you've never initiated any plans, you've never made any effort to strengthen the connection with them. You have had money coming in, but instead of budgeting and managing your finances well, you've kind of been complaining and your finances have been all over the place. Here's the bitter truth. If you don't take care of what you already have, why would you be trusted with more? Why would you be given more responsibility if you're not already taking care of your existing ones? Why would the universe make you an instant internet sensation overnight when you haven't even been on the path of starting to post on your Instagram or YouTube or whatever it is that you desire? Or why would it just give you a thriving business if you aren't even hustling a little bit on the side? So I'll speak from personal experience. For me, this entire past year was actually about learning to trust my own instincts and my own judgment above all else. I knew I already had good judgment. I knew I had great instincts, but I was outsourcing the decision making for my life to everybody else around me, including society. In my heart of hearts, what I truly wanted to be was a better leader, even a creator. So the universe didn't just give me that by granting my wishes magically. Instead, what it did was bring me agents of doubt. Yes, when my lesson was about self-trust, I was given seeds of doubt. So what I was battling this year wasn't really any external obstacles, rather it was my own self-doubt. So then all of the circumstances around me became a reflection of that inner battle. And then I had only 2 choices. Either I succumb to the noise or become the person who trusts herself the most when the world is noisy. So then self-trust became the key to everything, to the leadership I wanted, to creation, to actually building the kind of life I wanted to build. That's exactly what I mean by stewardship. I already had those good instincts within me. So the universe was actually asking me, will you honor them? Will you trust what you already know? Whatever you desire is on the other side of a test from the universe that requires you to walk through it by honoring what you already have, the gifts you already possess Nothing external, trust me. So for this, I did the exercise called Expose the Lies. It's by Lisa Nichols, and it's been a complete brain rewiring. I'm going to try my best to explain it and also link the original video. So in order to do this exercise, what you need is about 10 to 16 sheets of paper, blank paper, and a pencil and a red pen. I used a bright pink pen, dark pink, take your pick. Now, once you have your sheets of paper, you take your pencil and you will write on each sheet of paper the lies you tell yourself. Now, these will be lies across 4 categories that you tell yourself, and leave a space of 4 lines between each of the lies you tell yourself. I'm going to just tell you the type of lies we tend to tell ourselves. So the first category is money. Maybe the lie you tell yourself in this category is it's really hard to make money. Money makes you greedy. Only evil people make a lot of money. So that's one. So write each of these lies, and within each of these lies leave about 4 spaces. Next, this is one section. So take about 3 sheets ish for each category. After money, you come on to the category who am I, and here maybe you tell yourself things like, oh, I'm not smart enough, I'm stupid, I'm weak, I'm this, that, whatever you tell yourself, right? Keep writing these lies. Then the next category, relationships. Here maybe the lie you tell yourself is, oh, I can't rely on other people are out to get me. You get the drift. Next, health and fitness. Here maybe you think, oh, I lack discipline, I'm not motivated enough, I will never be fit, and go on. I know it sounds hard initially, but once you start, you really just start to uncover a lot of things. And the final category here is spirituality. Here perhaps you write, oh, I find it hard to make a connection or feel devoted, whatever. You write your lies about spirituality. So now you have all your lies in pencil written within a gap of 4 lines each. Once you've written them all, read them. Reread them, and ideally it will sting if you've been honest with the exercise, because what will happen is you'll see the kind of cage you've been putting yourself in for all of these years, not just this past few months or the last year. Then once you've read this, you write a corresponding truth to each of the lies that you've written. So the 4 spaces you left, that's where you write the corresponding truth. Doesn't matter if you don't believe in it yet, just write the flip side or the truth to the lie that you just wrote. So these will be positive statements. So in the affirmatives, instead of saying I'm not stupid, you say I am intelligent, I am bright, I am creative, I am good with money, whatever. You write all of these down. Now read both the lie and the truth. Read them about 4 times a day for the next 2 days. With this, you're retraining your brain each time it reads it, and each time it kind of forms a new pathway of thinking about things. Finally, you erase the lies that you wrote in pencil, and there you have it. You keep the truth, and then you keep reading and rereading these truths. In a way, these are very tailored positive affirmations if you think about it. But the point here is that nothing changes if nothing changes. And what I mean by that is, you can't have the same old limiting mindset and your negative self-talk and then suddenly expect a change in your habits, in your routines, in your actions, and then your life will magically change suddenly because you put it on your vision board and it's the 1st of January. No, that's not how it happens. The first and foremost thing that you need to work on, and please listen to this very carefully, it is yourself. It always starts with the self. Before anything changes outwardly, the shift happens internally. Alright, phase 2, chop chop. This one is deep reflection or study as we call it. No, this isn't a way to torture yourself by reflecting on the year that was and everything that you did incorrectly. No, we're just collecting data on what was. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to think back to a time which you think or you believe you were really thriving in. Now, perhaps this was during exam season, back in school, back in college, when you were really motivated. Perhaps you were at the top of your class at one point, or maybe you were in a relationship of some sorts that brought out the best in you, or maybe you did your best work when you had a vacation to look forward to. You were perhaps your most chipper self. Who knows? So now when you identified those instances, think about what it was in those instances that brought out the best in you. Was it the fact that you had something to look forward to? Was it because you really thrived in the presence of a particular teacher? Was it a subject you enjoyed? Was it the fact that the person that you were with brought in a lot of discipline and structure and purpose into your life? Identify and list these next, because this is what's going to actually give you your core values, or rather what you prioritize or give importance to without really realizing. Because it's one thing to say I value honesty and punctuality, and then it is a whole another thing to notice what you let slide and what you kind of reward another person for. For me, I realized I felt most alive when I was taking risks bigger than myself. So by that I mean launching my company, when I was pitching to investors, saying yes to things that I wasn't ready for just yet, but were much bigger than me. But the last year I actually spent most of my time playing it safe, optimizing things, overthinking, and so on. So when I look back, the data was telling me that I valued courage and performed my best when I was being courageous, which made me think, why was I being timid then? Why was I operating out of fear? So working through this brought me to my top 3 core values, which were courage, loyalty, and integrity. It took a lot of reflection to arrive at this, a lot of replaying and reviewing instances that happened in my life. And sometimes it's not just what it is that I was actively rewarding, but what were moments that made me feel unmotivated or unsafe, and what caused me to retreat. That was also a pretty good indicator for what it is that I was valuing and what I wanted more of in my life. Maybe what you realized about yourself is you feel most alive when you're in small groups with really close friends and you completely shut down or are not at your best in big networking events. That's your data. Use it. This isn't about judging yourself. It's about creating a blueprint that works for you uniquely. All of us are not the same, so you can't be taking the advice of somebody else who doesn't understand the environments you exclusively thrive in. Alright, if you made it so far, you're already in the top 10%, because most people wouldn't make it so far. They wouldn't be doing all this internal work, because trust me, it's hard. You're here, so let's keep going. Okay, we're at phase 3, which is strategy, and we're about to get even more methodical. So now, instead of your traditional vision board, what I want you to focus on is your top 5 priority goals for the year. Not 20, not 10, only 5. Human beings overestimate what they can do in a year, and they underestimate what they can accomplish in a decade. If you have 20 goals for this year, you might as well have none. It's overwhelming, it's impractical, and you might get started, sure, but come February, you would have abandoned most of them and just have been feeling dejected and hopeless. There goes your entire momentum for the year. Now, out of the 5 priority goals, we will break them down even further into 3 stewardship goals. That is building on top of what's already working really well for you. Perhaps you have a really loving family, and what you might want to do is create more pockets of connection with them this year. Find more time for them, find more things to do together. Perhaps you have been slightly active last year, patchy but active, and you may want to continue the consistency streak there. Those are your stewardship goals. And then you will pick 2 goals, which are your desire areas. Now, these can be completely net new goals that you're kind of inviting into your life and you want to generate momentum for, which may not exist at the moment. So, for instance, for me, it is my YouTube channel and my new business. Comment your top goals for 2026. When we're all here next year, we'll look back at how far we've come and the progress we've made. You can write these down if you like, but ideally, these should be simple enough for you to have a mental anchor for, so that you know what you have to keep coming back to this entire year. Important thing to note here is just remember what is in your control. Don't try to time box the really big stuff. And by that I mean, when you dream of something to happen which seems like an audacious goal, don't doubt the possibility of it happening, but then also don't try to control the how or the when. I think somebody had said it really beautifully, that when you make a wish to the universe, you kind of just think about it and then you let it go, let it fly like a balloon in the air. Then you don't second guess it at all. Because this is the mistake we all tend to make. We're really impatient with our big goals. We're really impatient and also really easily disheartened, not realizing that our faith needs to extend beyond whatever timeline we had in mind. And that's precisely why I don't believe in yearly vision boards. I believe in North Stars, which are usually goals that I have for the next 5 to 10 years in mind. 2 to 3 really big anchors that guide my decision making and help me stay focused and unwavered in those years to come. Now that you know your broad themes, we will put this into an action plan. This is my 5-year plan. As you can see, it's broken down by years, months, quarters. It's not too granular. Again, the idea is just a weekly recap. I'm also a human being. who likes to keep some room for the extraordinary. I don't like to put everything on an Excel sheet, but here, as you can see, I list all my priorities, like taking care of my dog, my own energy and health levels, because I've come to prioritize those above all else, because nothing matters, none of my material success matters if my foundations here are shaky. And then this tracker helps me know how far along the goal I am, and also give me a snapshot for the year that was. If you sync really well with a Google Calendar, if you have the habit of checking it for your meetings, etc., I would really advise also slotting in a reflection time here. I typically like to do this Sunday evenings, and even if I'm unable to fill it on some weeks, having a list of like my values written down just helps me kind of again stay focused on what am I valuing, and then not feel as wavered or as unmoored by what others are doing. Alright, we're now in the final phase, and this is where most people get it wrong. They think strategy and surrender are two very different things, or they're the exact opposites. Like if you're setting a strategy, why would you surrender? And vice versa. But before I talk to you about surrender, I want to tell you about something really simple that I'm implementing in my home. This year, my family and I are doing something called the complaint jar, metaphorical jar. And it is that every time we complain about something that's not in our control, and we do it more than once, and we're not actively trying to change it, we are going to put 1,000 rupees in the jar. And yes, it should pinch a little, because the point of this is to notice how much time and energy we waste on things that are simply not in our control, and how we're actually wasting good positive energy into something negative when we sit and complain and talk about our circumstances and think, oh, woe is me, so such and such has happened to me. And no, this isn't about toxic positivity. If something's happened, of course, you don't try to deny it, but you don't try to actively sit and complain about things, is what the point of this is. And when you stop complaining, you'll see how much energy you free up to actually create positive emotion, right? Which is a positive action. And that's what surrender is. It's not inaction, but it's about redirecting your energy from resistance to creation. Okay, I need to address something, because I know a lot of you are thinking, well, this was supposed to be easy, but this is sounding like a lot of work. I thought I was just supposed to surrender, just let go and chill. Well, yes, and surrender is not passive. Surrender is not sitting on your couch waiting for the universe to hand you your biggest dreams on a silver platter. But what surrender is taking aligned action and releasing the attachment to the outcome. It's about showing up for your workout and knowing that your body knows what it needs. It's about applying for that job and trusting that if that's not the one, then something better is along the way. You are co-creating with the universe. You're not just manifesting, you're not just hustling, but you're doing the best of both and in harmony at the same time. That's where your real magic is. What would 1 year, just 1 year of unwavering radical belief in something you can't see yet, but you know is your destiny, what would that belief look like? How would that change your life compared to a vision board? By the end of 2026, by following, if not all, but even some of it, you will have a folder of evidence that the universe is listening, and that you can trust yourself, and that when aligned action meets surrender is when real lasting change happens. Alright, let's bring it back home. Remember how at the beginning of the video I said 90% of vision boards fail? Well, this is exactly why. It's because they skip the surrender, the stewardship, the study part of it. It's usually just a bunch of pretty pictures with no strong foundation to really hold it and then kind of bring that magic to life. So pretty surface level if you asked me the best way to explain it. But you just did the work. You stayed till the end of this video, and now what you have is a system, and this system is tailored to you. So this is about your life, your timeline, and your particular specific dreams. And if there's anything that you take away from this video, it is that in 2026, just trust yourself above all else. As for my 5-year tracker template, also my weekly and monthly reflection prompts, I will send you a link if you like. Just let me know in the comments. If this resonated with you, share it with a friend or someone who would really appreciate it as they're setting their goals for the year ahead. And that's all I have for this one. Thanks for sticking around. Happy New Year, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.